There are moments in life when someone walks into your world and everything changes, but not in a good way. Later, you look back and think, how did I not see that coming? What if you could have? What if you could spot the subtle signs before someone wrecks your trust, drains your energy, or derails your future? Nietzsche had a belief: our deepest pain doesn't usually come from strangers, it comes from the people we let in. And if you stick with me until the end of this video, you're going to walk away with the tools to spot hidden red flags, decode subtle cues, and protect yourself before it's too late. Now look, we all recognize the obvious danger signs: yelling, threats, physical aggression. That stuff is easy to clock. But Nietzsche pointed out something chilling: real danger. It's rarely loud. In fact, it often walks in wearing a smile. It's charming, warm, even generous. The most dangerous people? They're not cartoon villains. They're social chameleons. They show up with flattery, stories, perfect timing. And before you know it, they're in. Close. Think about this. How many times have you felt that tiny flicker of doubt about someone and brushed it off? Told yourself, I'm just overthinking? We've been trained, by society, by culture, to trust words more than we trust energy. But Nietzsche knew something we forget: words lie. Energy doesn't. The real warning signs? They're almost never spoken. They're felt. See, the mask of charm is powerful. These people know how to make you feel special, chosen even. But notice how fast admiration turns into blame. Notice how their praise somehow makes you crave more of their approval. That's not love, that's dependency. And here's something that could save you years of heartache: your gut, that feeling in your chest, the tightness in your stomach. It's not just anxiety, that's your internal radar. Nietzsche didn't call it a gut feeling. He called it the wisdom of the body. When someone makes your skin crawl, when something about them just doesn't sit right, you don't need a logical explanation. You don't need a list of reasons. That feeling is reason enough. So why do we ignore it? Because we're taught to be polite, to give people the benefit of the doubt, to sacrifice our own discomfort just to keep the peace. But here's what Nietzsche warned: he who cannot obey himself will be commanded. Translation: if you keep ignoring your own intuition, someone else is going to take control of your life. Now, not every red flag waves in your face. The most dangerous people, their warnings come in whispers, not screams. It's the small patterns that stack up. They ask about your secrets but keep theirs hidden. They shower you with praise, then pull it away when you step out of line. Their stories change. You feel confused about what actually happened. They cross boundaries softly, then act shocked or hurt when you finally say no. Nietzsche once wrote, "The snake which cannot shed its skin must die." But these people? They never shed. They just find new victims. The problem isn't that you saw a red flag and ran. The real danger is when you see a red flag and stay, hoping you can fix it, hoping that love will change them. Let me give you something people rarely talk about. Nice can be dangerous. The person who never says no, who always flatters, who gives and gives and gives, but never lets you breathe. That's not harmless. That might be a disguise. Nietzsche didn't trust people who needed everyone to like them. He saw it for what it really was: a mask. Because when someone needs approval that badly, they'll do anything to control how they're seen, and that often means controlling you too. Ask yourself, do they get cold or distant when you disagree? Does their helpfulness make you feel guilty, like you owe them something you never asked for? That's not kindness. That's leverage. Nice and good are not the same thing. Good stands on truth. Nice, a lot of the time, is just performance. And let's talk about gaslighting. Though Nietzsche never used that word, he described it perfectly. A person who twists your reality just enough to make you doubt yourself. It starts small. You're too sensitive. I never said that. You're imagining things. And over time, you start to question your own mind. You apologize when you've done nothing wrong. you start filtering your reactions. You start wondering if maybe, just maybe, it is all your fault. That's no accident. That's control. Because if you trust your reality, you'll leave, and they can't have that. Nietzsche's advice? Become who you are. Don't hand your story to someone else, especially someone who wants to rewrite it. Every relationship tests boundaries, but some people aren't testing to get to know you. They're testing to own you. They borrow your things without asking and get offended when you ask for them back. They demand your time, but disappear when you need theirs. They want your trust on day one and promise it's just us before they've even earned it. It always starts small. One no you ignore turns into 10. Suddenly, you're doing things that feel wrong just to avoid their disappointment or anger. Nietzsche warned, beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. If you have to shrink yourself to keep someone else comfortable, that's not love. That's erosion. Here's something you may not hear often. The most dangerous people. They're not the ones who yell, threaten, or show obvious signs of harm. Sometimes, they're the ones who tell you you're broken, and they're here to fix you. Nietzsche saw that clearly. The urge to save others often hides something darker, the desire to control. If you constantly feel like a project, like someone's always trying to improve you, fix you, tweak you, step back and ask, do I feel respected or do I feel reshaped? Because here's the truth. You don't need a life coach and a partner. You need a partner, someone who meets you where you are and walks beside you, not someone who's always pulling you toward a version of yourself you never asked to become. We all make mistakes. Everyone says the wrong thing sometimes, and it's easy to forgive a single bad day. But danger rarely hides in one big event. It lives in patterns. How do they handle disappointment? That's your test. Do they lash out, sulk, gossip about you behind your back? Are they kind when no one's watching, or only when there's an audience? Do they lie, twist the truth, or turn people against each other just to feel powerful? Nietzsche said, the smallest things are the greatest. And it's true, the tiny things we brush off today, they can become the chains that bind us tomorrow. So don't just listen to someone's words. Look at the pattern of their choices, the cycle, the behavior that repeats even after apologies. If your trust is dying by 1,000 tiny cuts, you owe it to yourself to pay attention. Here's something most people don't realize. You don't need permission to protect your peace. Let me say that again, because it matters. If someone constantly leaves you feeling drained, on edge, confused, or doubting your own reality, that's a sign. And you don't need a reason that others understand to step away. If something doesn't feel right, it's not right for you. Nietzsche believed the highest form of wisdom was to honor the part of you that just wants to stay whole. Not to win, not to be right. Just to be whole. Because at the end of the day, no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. And maybe you're hearing this and thinking, wow, I've been ignoring too many signs. That's okay. You're not alone. Most of us have been fooled by charm, or kindness, or someone who just knew all the right things to say. But the moment you see it, that's the moment you begin to break free. Let me ask you something personal. What red flag have you ignored before? Was it someone who always needed to be right? Someone who guilt-tripped you when you tried to set boundaries? Someone who made you feel small, even while pretending to lift you up? If you're comfortable, share it in the comments. You never know who might need to hear your story to finally see their own situation clearly. Now, if you want to keep learning how to read people better, how to protect your energy, and how to trust yourself, no matter what someone else says, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This space is about wisdom, truth, and helping each other grow stronger. Because let's be real, the world doesn't teach us how to spot manipulation. It teaches us to be polite, to be forgiving, to be nice. But what if nice is what gets us hurt? Ready for the next layer? Let's talk about something a little harder to explain, but incredibly powerful: energy. Have you ever felt that weird tension with someone who always says the right things, but something about them never sits quite right? Maybe it's a friend who's super supportive in theory, but your stomach sinks every time their name pops up. Or a coworker who compliments your work in public, but quietly takes credit when you're not around. Nietzsche had a name for this behavior: the Great Masquerade. He believed the most dangerous trait isn't open hostility, it's someone's ability to perform goodness so convincingly that even your own instincts feel like a betrayal. That's the trick. These people don't just hide behind charm, they weaponize it. They use it to get close. They use it to make you ignore your own gut. They act warm while freezing you out. They promise loyalty, then vanish when you need them most. Their words say, "I care," but their actions scream, "You're on your own." Here's where things get tricky. Our minds are trained to listen to words, but our bodies, they're listening to something older, deeper, energy. And when someone's words and energy don't match, always trust the energy. That tightness in your chest, the fatigue after a simple conversation, that vague sense of guilt or confusion, that's your body telling you the truth your brain is too polite to admit. So, let's be clear, every manipulator has a different tactic. Some use guilt, some use chaos, but the result is always the same. You slowly start losing pieces of yourself. It doesn't happen all at once. It's subtle. First, they want your time. Then, your attention. Then, your choices. Can you just check in more? Maybe don't wear that. I just want to know where you are. It's because I care. At first, you tell yourself, it's no big deal. But slowly, your world starts to shrink. You start editing yourself, silencing your own voice. Nietzsche put it this way: the true danger isn't the chains others place on us, it's the ones we accept ourselves. So ask yourself, am I making choices from freedom or out of fear of someone's reaction? Can I speak honestly, or do I twist myself just to keep the peace? Are my dreams getting smaller just to fit into someone else's life? If the answer is yes, you may be living in someone else's cage, and that's the danger we need to talk about. Let's talk about one of the sneakiest ways danger shows up in your life: isolation. And I'm not just talking about physical distance. I'm talking about emotional dependence. Here's how it usually starts. I just don't think your friends really care about you. Or, I'm not sure your family understands you like I do. And at first, it feels like concern. Protective even. But it's not. It's a setup. Because over time, the people who truly support you start fading out. Maybe you cancel plans more often. Maybe you stop sharing things with others because you know how that one person will react. Slowly, your entire sense of reality, what's okay, what's not, what's true, gets filtered through them. Nietzsche saw this dynamic a mile away. He said, "Whoever must be loved at all costs soon becomes a tyrant." That's what this is. Tyranny in disguise. It doesn't come with force. It comes with dependence. If someone starts becoming your only source of validation, approval, or connection, you're not in love. You're in a cage. And the worst part, it's a cage you don't even realize you're in. Until one day, you look around and wonder why you feel so alone, even with someone always by your side. No one who truly loves you will ever ask you to shrink your world just to keep them comfortable. Real love expands your life. It doesn't cut it down to size. And then there's the chaos. You know the type. People who always have drama, always have emergencies, always need rescuing. It's like they live in a storm, and you're the only umbrella they'll accept. Nietzsche believed that people who pull you into emotional chaos don't just thrive in it, they feed on it. It makes them feel powerful, needed, important. Here's how you'll know. You're constantly stuck in their crises. You're always defending them to others. You're getting pulled into fights that have nothing to do with you. And every time you try to step back, they pull you in deeper with guilt, confusion, or some new emergency that only you can fix. Does that sound familiar? Do their stories never quite add up, but somehow you always end up feeling like the bad guy? like it's your fault they're hurting, like you're the one who needs to do better. This is what Nietzsche called the art of war in the home. It's not about tanks and weapons, it's about making your mind the battlefield. And if you're always fighting their battles, you're probably not living your own life. Let's talk apologies for a second. A real apology brings peace. It's followed by change, growth, relief. A fake apology? That's a whole different beast. The person says, "I'm sorry you feel that way," or "I guess I messed up again, like always," or "I said I'm sorry. What more do you want?" That's not accountability. That's control. That's using apologies as a reset button so they can hurt you again without consequences. Nietzsche would have said, words mean nothing without change. And if you keep forgiving someone, but nothing ever improves, you're not with a flawed human trying to get better. You're dealing with a master manipulator who knows exactly what to say to hit the reset button on your boundaries. Because apologies aren't about erasing the past. They're about building trust for the future. If someone keeps hurting you, then apologizing just to keep you close, they're not sorry. They're strategic. And it gets even deeper. Over time, dangerous people start replacing your sense of self with their own. You question your thoughts, your values, your instincts. You stop doing the things you once loved because somehow everything becomes about them. You feel like a mirror, just reflecting their moods, their needs, their goals. And one day, you wake up and realize you don't even recognize yourself anymore. That's the slowest, most painful kind of loss. And Nietzsche saw it. He called it the erosion of the self. And once you're there, it can feel almost impossible to climb out. So how do you reclaim yourself? Start small, one act a day. One decision that's just for you. Wear what you want. Take a walk. Reconnect with a friend. Set a boundary, even a tiny one. Because every time you choose you start rebuilding the person they tried to erase. What makes you immune to danger isn't fear. It's resilience. Nietzsche said, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." But that only works if you learn the lesson and take your power back. The key? Spot patterns early. Set boundaries quickly. Don't wait for proof that someone is dangerous. If you feel unsafe, unseen, or disrespected, you are allowed to walk away. Resilience isn't never getting hurt. It's knowing how to heal, how to forgive yourself for falling for the wrong person, and how to recognize the signs sooner next time. And sometimes, this is important, protecting yourself means walking away, even when it still hurts. Nietzsche believed freedom isn't about how much you can endure. It's about what you have the courage to say no to. So let me ask you, have you tried to talk to someone, but nothing ever changes? Do you feel worse after spending time with them? Are you staying because of love or fear? Choosing yourself doesn't make you selfish. It makes you free. Once you recognize the danger and walk away, you might think the hardest part is over. But what comes next? That might be even harder. How do you trust again? How do you let someone in without constantly waiting for the mask to slip? Nietzsche believed that the only way to build a better life wasn't by forgetting, but by setting a new standard. One that starts with this simple truth: trust must be earned, not owed. So what does that look like? It means asking questions like, do their actions match their words, even when no one's watching? Can you disagree without fear? Do you feel accepted, safe, and seen exactly as you are, not for who they want you to be? When you start demanding real trust, something amazing happens. You begin attracting better people, people who respect your no, who don't just say the right thing, but live it. Your radar sharpens. The more you honor your boundaries, the faster you can spot manipulation. It's like upgrading your emotional immune system. And now that you're here, after the chaos, after the realization, after the goodbye, the next chapter is about rebuilding your strength, reclaiming your peace, living with intention. Let's talk about something Nietzsche taught that doesn't get enough attention: owning your story. Because after you've been manipulated or lied to, the temptation is to do one of two things: pretend it didn't happen, You blame yourself for not seeing it sooner. But Nietzsche said it best. No one can build you the bridge on which you, and only you, must cross the river of life. Translation? Your journey, your healing, your growth, it belongs to you. The past isn't a chain, it's a chapter, and the goal isn't to erase it. The goal is to learn from it. So instead of asking, why didn't I see the red flags, ask, what have I learned that I'll never ignore again? Instead of beating yourself up, honor the fact that you survived, that you're here wiser, even if it still hurts. Healing is not a straight line. It's messy, it loops back. You'll revisit old wounds, but each time you do, you'll come back with more wisdom, more clarity, and, most importantly, more compassion for yourself. One of the deepest wounds dangerous people leave behind isn't physical or even emotional. It's the doubt they plant. Not doubt in others, but doubt in yourself. You start questioning your memory, your value, your ability to judge people. Nietzsche saw that doubt as a kind of theft, a way of stealing your inner compass. But here's the good news. Your compass isn't broken. It's still there. It just needs to be trusted again. Start by believing your feelings, even when others don't. If something feels off, you don't have to justify it. You don't have to convince anyone else. You just have to listen. Want a practical tool? Start a feelings journal. Track how people make you feel, not just what they say. Write down who energizes you, who drains you, who confuses you. Over time, patterns will emerge. You'll start seeing clearly again. And don't forget to honor the times you were right about someone, even if you didn't act on it. That voice inside you? It's smarter than you think. Every single time you choose to trust yourself, you're casting a vote for your freedom. Nietzsche once wrote, "He who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises." Even in our lowest moments, there's still dignity, a spark, a refusal to completely give in. And that spark, that's your strength. Now, let's talk boundaries. They are not optional. They're not a luxury. They're essential. Think of boundaries like doors, not walls. Doors that keep harmful energy out and let the right people in. Set boundaries around your time, your energy, your emotions. Let no become a sacred word in your life. And if someone gets upset when you draw a line, that's not your problem. Your job isn't to manage their feelings. Your job is to protect your peace. Because the people who push back against your boundaries, they were probably benefiting from your lack of them. Healthy boundaries don't just filter out the dangerous, they also keep away the draining, the distracting, the disrespectful. And what you're left with is clarity. More space for people who get you. Less space for chaos. One of Nietzsche's most powerful ideas is this: you are the artist of your own life. So the real question isn't just, how do I avoid danger? It's, who do I want to become now that I've survived? You have the power to redesign everything. Your relationships, your standards, your inner dialogue. You get to choose to trust your gut, even if no one else does. You get to speak your truth, even when it's hard. You get to surround yourself with people who lift you up, not those who fear your growth. Pain sharpens your eyes, yes, but it doesn't have to harden your heart. Use what you've learned to become wiser, clearer, more discerning, not colder or closed off. Trust after betrayal is hard, no doubt, but it's possible. Nietzsche would tell you, don't look for perfect people, look for consistent ones, look for the ones who show up, who match words with action, who can disagree without disrespect. So set a new standard. Trust slowly, but honestly. Forgive carefully. And give second chances only when actions, not just apologies, prove change. Above all else, protect your peace, fiercely, because you are the gatekeeper now. Let's close this out with something most people don't realize until it's too late. You don't have to hold on. You don't have to keep carrying pain, people, or stories that make you smaller. That's not strength. That's survival mode. And there's a difference. Nietzsche's wisdom was clear. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You don't have to wait for the past to change. You don't have to hope that one day The person who hurt you will finally become the version you needed. Let that go. Give yourself permission to leave, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the spaces where you weren't valued. Because here's the truth. You are not defined by what you walked away from. You are defined by what you choose to walk toward. And what you walk toward, that's yours to decide. You get to build a future on your terms. You get to ask, what do I need now? And then you get to say no to anything that doesn't meet that standard. The fact that you've made it this far, that you've stuck with this entire video, that tells me something important. You're not running from truth. You're walking straight into it. That alone puts you miles ahead of most people. Because most people don't want to look. They don't want to learn. They definitely don't want to change. But you're choosing awareness. And that awareness, that's your freedom. So if something I said here helped you see yourself, or someone else, a little more clearly, take a moment to share your story in the comments. Because your story might be someone else's red flag. Your truth might be the moment they finally wake up. And if you're still watching, I want you to take this with you. You are allowed to protect your peace, even if it means disappointing people who only loved you when you were easy to control. From now on, this is your new beginning. This is the day you say, I don't trade my peace for chaos. I don't shrink to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. I don't wait for someone to choose me. I choose myself. Because self-respect doesn't scream. It leaves quietly when it's had enough. Now, if you're asking, where do I go from here? I'll tell you. You start rebuilding, thought by thought, choice by choice. You start trusting yourself again, even if it's shaky at first. And that brings us to trust. After danger, betrayal, or manipulation, trust feels like the hardest thing to rebuild. But Nietzsche had a powerful insight here too. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Find your why, the reason you want to heal, the future you want to create, the person you want to become. Then start paying attention to who supports that version of you and who resists it. Real trust isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. Ask yourself, do they show up? Do they listen without trying to control the outcome? Can they sit with your boundaries instead of testing them? Because once you set a new standard for trust, you'll never go back. Your peace will become sacred, your time, priceless, your self-worth, non-negotiable. And don't just focus on others, apply that same standard to yourself. Be the person you trust. Show up for yourself. Keep promises to yourself. Don't betray your own gut just to keep someone else happy. The most powerful person in any room isn't the loudest. It's the one who's centered, grounded, whole. So ask yourself right now, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? Who am I keeping in my life out of fear, not love? What would happen if I finally gave myself permission to let go? Because here's the truth. You're not here to fix everyone. You're not here to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. You're here to become, to evolve, to heal, to choose differently than you did before. And if you're worried about becoming cold, jaded, or closed off, remember this. Pain doesn't have to harden you. It can sharpen you. You can become wiser, not colder. You can become stronger, not harder. You can become more open, but only to what actually nourishes your life. Let's end with this. The most dangerous people wear masks, but so can you. You can wear strength, confidence, stillness, clarity. You can become your own protector, not through fear, but through self-awareness. And from that place, the right people will find you. So protect your peace. Set your boundaries. Trust your gut. And don't apologize for any of it. Because your life, your real life, begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself to keep someone else comfortable. And if you ever forget that, come back to this. You're not alone.